Well, good evening, everybody. Dennis here at CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show. Thanks for tuning in tonight and joining us for what is the season finale of season 1 of the show. You know what? It's been a great season. I must say we've had some very good guests on the show. We've had all kinds of great topics. Things are always on the up and up. And, with the help of people like all of you in the chat, things have been really good. So this is episode number 38. Time flies when you're having fun to get this far into a season. And now with the paddling season being upon us, it's a good time for me to step back, let you all enjoy your summer as much as we can with all this COVID stuff that's going on. But thankfully, we're all able to, or most of us anyways, are able to get out there and enjoy what we have out there available to us. But we will be resuming with season 2 starting in September. I'm already speaking with some different people and working on some different topics to get us all back into the swing of things when the fall season rolls around. So you know what? I'm not going to bore you tonight with all kinds of banter and chit chat. Tonight we're going to be bringing back a few of our guests that we had throughout the season. Just going to be talking about different things that are going on now. A few of us have already had adventures out there, shot videos and done some YouTube stuff and just enjoyed the outdoors, getting back to nature. So basically we're going to be chit-chatting about that. And as usual, you guys are all welcome to put any questions that you might have into the chat. For anybody that's on screen, let's have a fun evening of it. Grab yourselves a beverage of choice. I got a bear theme going on tonight. I got some Cowbell's Boxing Brewing, right? And then I've also got Mill Street Hopped and Confused, and they both got bears on the cans. So I somehow ended up with a bear theme tonight. And that's all cool. So you guys carry whatever theme you want, whether it's hot chocolate or tea or a nice frosty beverage of some sort. Please do jump in there and enjoy. You know what? We're going to get right into this because we got 2 people in the basement right now, and we're just going to get into chit chat. And I might even invite a couple of you up on screen throughout the night tonight by putting the link in there. And if you want to join in, you can. Just got to realize that we got a bunch of people that we want to get into the chat tonight, and everybody deserves to get a bit of a turn. So first guest I'm going to bring up is somebody that's been on the show. She was one of my earlier guests in the series, and you all know her by Camper Christina. Christina, how you doing tonight?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am doing awesome. You know what? I kind of missed doing the show last week, but this week, being the grand finale there, I'm kind of pumped and jacked and happy and just looking forward to being able to get outdoors like all of you.
Oh, yeah. Right? It was quite a long break, wasn't it?
I know. Well, you know what? It even seemed longer because they told us we couldn't, but we weren't that far into the paddling season when we actually started. So that's the whole thing. Yeah, and I just see our other sneaky little guest popping back into the screen here in the basement. You guys know him from the Ontario Winter Camping Symposium and the Ontario Backcountry Canoe Symposium, Mr. David Bain. How you doing, David?
Good evening. Greetings, salutations. Hi, Christina.
Hi, David. How are you?
I am good. I've been out on one trip, so I got that monkey off my back, and so life is good right now. Things are
new place for you, I heard.
What's that? Sorry, new place?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe Pine Martin. I see Pine Martin is in the chat. Pine Martin introduced me to Island. A place no one should ever go.
the secret spot.
It's in Kevin's book, but it's a well kept secret. Yeah,
a great segue because look who's in the basement now.
Oh, who's
kind of a regular on the show. Kevin, how you doing tonight?
Hi, Kevin.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers. If you guys are drinking, I guess I'll.
There you go. Break out the Palm Bays. If you got them, crack them. How you doing tonight, Kev?
Good. Where were you then, David?
Island Lake.
Not supposed to say.
Yeah, Island Lake, up northeast of Gravenhurst, northwest. Sorry.
Oh, that place. Oh, it's not Island Lake, Noganosh.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, so the picture. So really, I think everybody looked at that picture of you at the SS point, and you saw half sign of the SS launch.
Yeah, Martin took that. Yeah.
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 And that wasn't Wawagash.
Yeah, it is. They put a new sign up.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Apparently, according to Martin, it was like, what's that doing there? They had a little metal box saying, feel free to donate to maintain this dock or whatever. And
well, that's good.
Yeah. So there was a sign actually there. Yeah.
Wow. So how were the water levels going up Farm Creek then?
They weren't as high apparently as Martin has seen them, but they were certainly much higher than they have been other times he's been. We were able to paddle everything. We even paddled up a few beaver dams, and but we didn't have to. I guess the last time he was there, he had to paddle like the last 500 meters before the last port. I'm sorry, he had to line it. We were able to paddle right up to it. So
that's well, because I'm leaving tomorrow morning, and we were supposed to go up Farm Creek, and I was on a trip last week, and water levels where I was in the south end of Algonquin were just like dismal. So I said, God,
it's not bad. But remember, we've had a lot of rain, and we were there. Geez, I lose track of days, but like almost a week ago. So we'd had some rain. And so the levels were decent. So I don't know. They could have dropped again. But what a beautiful area. What a beautiful paddle. And, I was very impressed. Very impressed.
So Camper Christina, they went in from the south end. So when you and I went from down to Noganosh, they went from the south end up Farm Creek into Island, which is basically the same area. Yeah. Yeah.
But he went down a creek. We didn't do a creek. We went on.
Oh boy, David. Two-fisting.
What's going on?
So we're allowed to talk about where we've been because in the context of what Kevin Callan always says, you got to use them or lose them, right?
Is that Kevin there? Am I pointing at Kevin?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's in his book, right? So I take no responsibility. He's already broadcast it to the world. So yeah.
Well, got for it apparently.
The cool thing about so tomorrow, I said to Tim Foley, Kenny Outdoor Equipment, Tim Foley, I said, look, we can't go up Farm Creek. I was busy. I just came back from trip and then I had to do a bunch of media stuff, whatever. I said, look, you just tell me where we're going. And he goes, okay, but not until we get there. I was like, son of a.
There you go. Martin's saying your water level should be okay when you go up there, Kevin. It's raining here now.
It's rained all day. Yeah, if you did go that.
No, well, sorry, pardon, Martin. You've also told me how to bass fish before.
Oh yeah.
I've been in Algonquin. The water's been up. Like Lake of Two Rivers was high when I was there, and Pog, Whitefish.
Really?
Yeah. The creek.
And
Oxton River, they were all up. Even Ragged was up.
Yeah. Somebody just did the Nayscoot. Who was that? Bill Graham and David Lee. They just posted something. They just did the Nayscoot, and they said that Georgian Bay is so high that the Nayscoot, the erosion on the banks as you get down towards the mouth of the Nayscoot there's a lot of sweepers and stuff in the water.
Okay.
So, wow. So yeah, it's interesting times. I mean, there's no beach in a lot of places. You heard the kerfuffle. They closed Sauble Beach because of the partying and stuff, but also like they have barely any beach there. It's so narrow now compared to what it used to be. So
is that because of the high water levels?
High water levels, yeah.
East Beach too. It's missing.
That's right.
Interesting. So the Camper Christina, you went on your own, so you didn't have to worry about distancing with your partners, whatever. But Dave, you did. So what's really kind of cool is I'm going with 3 others tomorrow, and we should chat about like basically what are our rules and regulations for that.
Well,
we're all doing solo boats, solo tents, solo cooking.
Yep.
The only thing is the bug shelter. I got a 10x10 bug shelter, so we should bring 2 and then wave at each other. Like I'm not sure. Like,
well, that's what Martin and I did. Martin brought the Eureka, the older version of the no bugs zone, and if you cram yourself back into the tall corners, you're well more than 6 feet apart. You're probably 4 guys. I don't know. I guess if you don't have chairs and you sit in the low corners as well, it wouldn't be terrible. But the thing you have to remember, and I'm not advising anybody on, COVID. That's your own choices and stuff. But the one good thing is when you're outdoors, the aerosols disperse much better than if you're indoors. So that 6-foot rule is sort of a minimum, but it's also an indoor minimum. So if you're outdoors, your risks of transmission do drop somewhat. I was going to say significantly, but yeah.
I'm going on a trip with Sue this weekend. Sorry.
Mama Bear's wondering whether I'm in a sleeping bag. I'm just
get your pillow.
On a pillow.
You know what? As long as you go out and you don't talk moistly.
Yes, moist.
You'll be okay. No moist talking, right? Yeah.
Bad news. Yeah.
Our prime minister said, at least our prime minister is not telling us to drink Javix.
No.
Right?
We're way ahead of the game that way.
Wasn't it a cool experience, though, guys? I don't know about you, and I know we really should be talking about it, but the whole media is telling me, like, don't talk about the whole COVID. We've been COVID over the top, but my God, we need to talk about this. When I went out to Algonquin, and then I went out in the bush and I saw 2 canoes in the distance, came back, I was like, oh. And then you saw a bunch of people at the parking lot, and you get anxious again. You're like, oh.
Yeah, you're right.
Isn't that weird?
I don't know, Christina, you were totally on your own. I was with Martin. But just being only, having only one other person around, because we didn't see anybody on Island Lake at all at any of the portages or on the lake itself. You're right. The stress level, compared to going shopping at your local Zayres Mart or something, was way down.
See, I'm not experiencing that really here.
No, you're up
here,
right?
Yeah, I do.
I go to the grocery store. The people that work there don't even wear masks. Like, it's very chill here, right? Mm-hmm. So the anxiety was there, but the last month it's been kind of like, whatever.
Well, your number of cases are
really low.
Down.
Well, I had to go to the clinic because I had vertigo when I was out there, because probably the barometer dropped, whatever, and then to go to the hospital. Holy God.
No, that's bad.
Mask questioning, the questioning went on I felt so bad for the woman. She kept asking me these questions. Do I have these symptoms? I go, well, I usually have those symptoms all my life. Do you have diarrhea? Yeah, I always have diarrhea.
That's not what I ate yesterday.
Yeah, it all depends. I don't know. But it was scary as shit, and I felt bad for the people working there. And then I get out, and I'm thinking, I can't wait till I go out tomorrow. And then I'm thinking, damn. So one of the other things is, all of us said, okay, we should be tested before we go, right? So, and that would take all that fear away, or that phobia away. If we all get tested and we know we don't have it, then we're fine. So
we just had a meeting last night with the 3 other guys and myself, who we normally do an August trip together. And this very thing came up, and normally a big part of the trip is, okay, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., because when you live down in Kitchener, you got to leave early to get anywhere. So you pile into a van, you got 2 canoes on the roof, you stop at 3 Tim Hortons on the way up. But all of a sudden we had a Zoom meeting last night, and it's like, well, I don't think I can ride in the van with you guys. I got a 94-year-old father-in-law.
Yeah.
And I can't afford to, put him at risk. And so we're only going to Massasauga, so I'll just meet you there and pay for the extra car. And, if I do the cooking, I'll maybe put a mask on if you want me to, because I would feel better if the person actually making the food had a mask on. But a big part of our trip's usually playing cards, sitting around a barrel or a table, and it's like, all of a sudden you're within 3-4 feet of somebody, and there's 4 of you sitting in that space. So our solution might be not so much to get tested before we go, because you're going to get tested, you're going to wait 2 or 3 days to get the results, and then you probably didn't wait till the last minute, so you probably got 5 days before you go on the trip. It's not an ironclad guarantee. What we might do is, because the cases are pretty low in Waterloo right now, I think there's about 76 active cases, we might get tested when we come back. So when we come back, just self-isolate schedule a test for the day we get back or the next day. Get tested 2 days later. Okay, I'm tested fine. I'm great. I'm good to go. So we're still debating that. Like, do you do it before and then run the risk that you've picked it up between the test and the trip? Or do you do it when you get back so you don't give it to your father-in-law? I mean, these are things you got to, or do you just drive solo and, change?
Yeah.
You've been through the isolation already too, right?
Me? Yeah. I did 14 days. We came back from Florida. So, and it's not fun.
No, I did 14 weeks.
What?
Yeah.
You did kind of, right? Yeah.
I did. I actually, Christine was my partner. Sorry, girlfriend was basically essential service. So,
yeah.
And then Kyla, my daughter, was traveling with her mom in PI when it all happened, so she was in isolation. So, I had the dog. But yeah, I didn't really go see anybody, and I'm the poster boy for COVID protection.
Yeah. Well, and the guys on my trip seem to feel I'm the most cautious of everybody. And I just said, like, guys, I can't afford to pass it on to somebody. Like, when you've got a 94-year-old in your circle, you can't mess around. So, so Martin and I, it was quite painless to do it as two solo trips kind of together. You're just sharing a campsite, you paddle beside each other, but on the portages, we stayed away from each other. And
well, even if I went with Pine Martin on a regular trip, I would keep my distance.
Fair enough. I didn't want to bring that up because
Martin, let me know if you want to come up to defend yourself.
He's in. Sorry, I can't point at the. I'm pointing the wrong way. Here we go. He's in the comments over there.
Oh shoot! I'm not
way over there.
Oh,
so let's ask. So you guys, all of us here that are canoeists or kayakers all went through this whole experience together, right? And even though the season hadn't started yet, we were still being told we couldn't do it, which made us want to do it even more. Yeah. So Christina, what was your first thought when you first put your behind in the canoe and dipped your paddle?
Oh, it was awesome, obviously. And I had a brand new canoe to boot. So, I mean, it doesn't get better than that. No. Right? I did the Oxtongue River, and then I went over and did the little waterway between Lake of Two Rivers and Whitefish. Is there a name for that? Does anybody know?
Anybody?
Rivers, Bog,
Lake
Whitefish?
Of Two Fish.
Pardon?
Lake of Two Fish.
Yeah, so it was great being out. It was really hard because I mean, all this time off and it couldn't go anywhere. And like I'm right here, so it's really hard, very tempting. I mean, I could have paddled behind my house, but I was trying to set a good example, so I didn't.
Well,
do anything. I decided to,
Yeah, I mean,
like everybody else had to. So
right, because I mean, I had people saying, "Well, just go paddle the Grand." And I'm thinking, yeah, sure, flip the canoe, cold water. You need a rescue. All of a sudden, hey, Dave Bain, symposium guy, gets hauled out of the river with hypothermia. You didn't want to do that, right? And Kevin, you of all people are kind of under the microscope the most for that kind of thing in terms of your profile. So you must have felt a lot of pressure to stay off the water.
Yeah, I didn't feel a lot of pressure because I was okay with it. My sister, she's a nurse practitioner. She kept on telling me, don't do something stupid. So it was a family member that was asking me to do something. But yeah, I was in the media a lot. I don't know how many interviews to the point that I gave up. What was really cool, let's go to the positive stuff about that. I don't know how many interviews I did about, this is how we're going to connect with nature, guys, plant a garden, blah, blah, blah. And I had a lake right in front of me that was opening up, and you go back in time. And what's really cool, and when you go on a canoe trip like last week, I went back in time. I thought, it's all a blur now, but all those weeks and months of what we did, we're all kind of like not all there, like mentally, physically, like, yeah, we're like, my God, like freaking, but mentally we all need adjustment. So when I went off in the woods, it readjusted me, and I was like, let's go back to what happened. And what happened was I kept busy. I started doing those interviews, those whiskey chats, and that kept me sane. because I was just at home with the dog. What else, and then I realized how many great people we have in the canoe community, and it was really fantastic. The lake was opening up in front of me. So in theory, during the early times, the lake was just opening up. Would I go on canoeing on the lake anyway? Yeah, it's freezing out. So if I flipped over, I'm an idiot. Mm-hmm. That had nothing to do with COVID. But then when I was on the CBC and a whole bunch of other stations saying, be safe, our leader is telling us to not do this, and blah, blah, blah. And I believed in it. And then when we're allowed to go out, it was like, I got the shakes. I was like, we get to go out now. What do we do? How do we do this safely? And my Lord, just get out there. The wilderness is so simplistic. You are out there, and it just happened. And the nature was, I swear to God, Mother Nature said, yeah, humans, give us a break. I've never seen so much wildlife on my last trip.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Christina, did you see much wildlife?
No, same as usual.
Same as usual.
I was in Temagami for 5 days, and I saw 2 loons, and I saw some frogs.
I forget what moose actually look like.
I went down some really moosey looking places too. Like I was down this little creek. I'm like, if I was a moose, it's 6 a.m. This is where I'd be.
I'd be hanging out here. We had a pair of bald eagles nesting right on a point that were swooping down, sort of checking us out and so on. And it was really a magical moment. But you're right. There's no motor, like, Island Lake can have fishermen, and so there was nobody. So the bird life was all, out there, and we didn't see any bears or anything, but I'm sure the wildlife is happier with less traffic right now. But
and did you guys also what I did is I was lucky enough to able to teach my students online still, so I still had employment for a bit. Now it's gone, and my whole speaking tour is gone, whatever. But I'll get over it. But what was really cool is I started teaching myself more than I knew, because when you teach, Dave, there's a certain level where this stuff, but
right.
You don't progress, right? So during the whole pandemic, I started teaching myself more species. And what was really cool is on the Kingscott Lake, Christine saw these clumps of eggs, and I didn't know what they were. I guess they were frog eggs, and they weren't toad eggs, to know the difference. But they were salamander eggs. When I got back, I figured out the salamander eggs. And when I got back, also I found out that so all the species that were around us, I started investigating, and I think that was really cool to spend that time to relearn, right?
I did a lot of that too in the forest behind my house. I was like with the Plant ID app, and I'm like, oh, what's this? What's this? Oh, what's that bird? What does that sound?
See, I just go with Martin. He tells me everything because the man.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, what was that you were saying about Pine Martin a minute ago?
Yeah, what was that?
Oh, that I love the man. He's a wild and sexy angler.
Hi, Kevin. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Kevin, you should be careful because you just advertised that you're going to Island Lake with Tim Foley. I happen to know exactly what lake you're going to be on, and the portage route that you're clearing into what other lake, so I can find you.
No, it's funny. Tim's changed that route.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
That's the portage trail that probably most needs clearing, actually, in that whole area.
We are doing that.
Okay.
We are doing that, but we have to go in from the other end, because I really do Farm Creek. I really do believe Farm Creek is going to be a mess. Also, we can't leave until, well, my buddy Andy, he's notorious for being late for everything. So he says he can be there by 10. That means he'll be there at 1. If we leave at 1 at Wawagash, there's no way we'll get tired.
No, it's really hard to cross. Yeah.
So I had to do and I was away when all this happened, right? And there's a certain time where I just don't like planning a trip. I just want to go on a trip, okay? But when I got back from my other trip, I was like, oh my God, and I had to go to the clinic and do my vertigo, and I had to repack whatever. I go, God, guys, like, no, we can't do. So we're going from the north end, and then Tim sent me an email a few hours ago. He goes, we got it all planned, just meet us there. So I'm not sure what we're doing. I'm pretty sure we are going to clear that portage. Tim is obsessed. This is 3
Oh, we lost him.
Uh-oh.
How many is that, Kevin?
Relocated.
I think he was about to give me the finger.
Yeah. Oh, he's back. He's back.
He's back.
Oh,
This is the first time. No,
two,
that.
3.
But there's also a bunch of portages north of Kelsey Lake into Rabbit Lake and stuff. And
Yes.
also there was a portage north of Island Lake that we went into. I forget the name of the lake. That needed some work as well. So
Rat Lake.
yeah.
It's Rat Lake.
he
Yeah,
did.
I-
Brian, he did. Yes.
Rat Lake, the Rat Lake portage has been fairly well cleared, though. Some friends of mine who have a property, actually, they own a private property right there in that conservation reserve. They go through with chainsaws, and I think it would have been last spring, not this spring that we're just ended, but the spring before. They went through with chainsaws and cleared it. So I think the Rat Lake portage from the north end of Island is clear. But the one that you're talking about, I heard from someone that it's a mess. And about 15 years ago, my wife and I and some friends blazed it. We flagged it and built up some rock cairns and stuff like that to get from one system to the other. But I mean, probably the flagging tape is probably long gone by now, and who knows what's happened to the rock cairns. And the difficulty we had was we didn't have a GPS at the time. We were doing everything by map and compass. And so it was hard to get the best lines. And there were so many trails, so many people had sort of found their own routes that there was a lot of ways to get there, and it was all very circuitous. So if you can by GPS find a nice clear way, that would be just a boon to everyone in that area.
Yeah. Tim's obsession to do that. So in his trip. So
Martin, it's the MNR.
Hi, Dave.
That portage that you wanted the water bombers to drop the load on. I just want to clarify which one that is.
Giant water balloons. There you go.
no, I'm actually going to paddle the Kawartha Highlands. That's where I'm going. Yes. You know what's really funny is like I was supposed to be on Clyde. Is it Clyde River down by Puzzle Lake not last week because it was in Algonquin, the week before. That's where the fire is right now.
Yeah, there's a fire.
Yeah, and that campsite I was going to use, it's a campsite I've known for many years. I swear that's how it started. Someone just left the fire going, but I would have been in the freaking lake when that fire lit, which would have been a good video.
Yes, as they scooped you up with your canoe and everything in the
Oh,
water bottle.
Oh my Lord, Martin, you get a question?
Well,
You guys
for
heard
both
on
of
the
us,
Island
for
Lake,
either of us.
Naganash, Magnetowan Loop.
Not as a loop, but as an in and out from both directions. Yes. So from the Naganash system into Island and then the other way. But I've never done it as part of a loop with through the Magnetowan River. No, I've not done that.
So the loop that I've tried to create for many years, and if we can finish this whole thing next couple of days, if you start at the Naganash where Camper Christina and I started, or the Wabagash or Naskut, here's the link. So basically, you go up to Island Lake and to Kelsey, and then go into Naganash with that lost portage, which is a very historic portage. We're not making a new portage. That portage was used in the 60s and 70s by outdoor ed classes back in Toronto. I have documents of them doing big trips back up there and going all the way up into the Pickerel River system and the French River system from there too, which I don't know where they went. But then from Naganash down to Smoky, down into is it Dollars but down into Magnetowan River and Trout. I know that portage exists. It's more of a road now, so we're going to work on that as well. And then you go up the Magnetowan River into Trout Lake, which is an amazing lake of that whole system, and then do that long portage from Grave Rapids where the graves are, and then back to the Wabagash. Or the other option, which I looked at 2 years ago, is to go from Trout Lake through a series of small portages. I forget all the lakes, but it goes basically, here's Wabagash, here's Medina. Oh my God, here's Medina one. And there's some portages along there that actually will cut that 2 kilometer portage off. And it would create the most perfect 6 to 7 day canoe trip in South Central Ontario. But but everything's fine except the Kelsey portage to Naganash. Or John.
If you're doing that, if you're clearing that portage, bring your bear spray. Every time we have been there, it's just been tons of bears right there. And I think it has something to do with how rocky it is on that that sort of northwest side of Kelsey.
Yeah.
Just kind of exposed. I mean, you'll see all the flip rocks.
Yeah.
They love it there. They love it there.
I've been there a lot, Martin. And the last 2 years ago, Tim and I were there, and we saw 3 bears and probably about 12 piles of bear poop. Like it's and yeah, maybe that's why we didn't finish it.
Well, we were in a hurry when we went through there. We didn't dally.
Hey, Christina, Matt Hahn has a question about your bottle.
Yeah.
We were talking about it. Tell us about your water bottle.
I got the new Lark bottle in the post the other day. It came from California. I'm an affiliate for them now, I guess. So I'm testing it out, and it's got basically you put the water in. It's just a stainless steel inside, but it's got a UV light, I guess. And it once you close it, you press the top, and then it filters your water, like cleans your water for you. So
like a SteriPen.
Pardon?
It's like a SteriPen, that UV device.
Like so
that's cool.
Right now it's cleaning the water, and it takes, I think, it depends on the water, how dirty it is. You can set it to different. I have it on like lake water right now, so it'll clean it for like 30 seconds or 60 seconds, whichever you set it for, and then you can drink it.
What does that do? Just kills like any of the organisms that are in the water?
99% of all, like just like a water filter.
Well, what about those little swimmies? Those little
better than that. Better than that. It also kills viruses. You can take it anywhere in the world, and it kills viruses.
I just got it, so I'm still. I was actually just reading the things like when I was waiting to start the show because it's brand new. So I'm gonna take it out this weekend on my trip and try it out and see how it is.
Yeah, cool. I have to admit, I use the SteriPen when I'm doing solo trips, and as long as the water isn't churned up and it's got a lot of particulate in it, I feel really good about them. I think it's a great idea. One small clarification: I don't think it actually kills. I remember reading this in the literature when I got it. It doesn't actually kill Cryptosporidium or whatever that is.
Right.
It keeps it dormant long enough that it would pass right through you and not be active, kind of thing. So
yeah. Well, eggs. It's not going to kill eggs. Yeah. It's not going to kill eggs, but it'll kill living bacteria, and it'll kill viruses. I mean, well, arguably viruses aren't alive, but the point is that it'll neutralize viruses. So
yeah, it's a great idea, certainly. And one last thing to carry, because you got to carry the bottle anyway.
And it has a dual purpose. You can take it anywhere in the world. So if you're ever in a country where the water is a little dodgy, you can bring that, right? You can use the tap water in any country where they don't have.
Ever travels again, it will be great.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, David, does that mean when I go with my buddies and I have COVID, the virus, and I pee in the water when I'm out swimming, and then they go collect water for their water, and that will kill the virus?
Always got to throw a twist on it.
Just wondering.
I think pee is naturally sterile, so I don't know if
you sure
that or not. But yeah, you know what, Kevin?
Well, they found COVID in poop, so as long as they don't poop in the water.
Yeah. Although I believe it was the DNA, not the actual thing. So, but anyway, just remember, if you don't go tripping with Kevin, your chances of catching COVID are significantly less. Yeah.
It sounds like.
Okay, you guys want to answer a couple questions here? We got a few questions coming in the chat. Brian J's asking, assuming no future limits or access bans, where would each of you do a fall trip this year? New area or familiar favorite?
Wow.
Always new.
I've got a bunch of little Crown Land places I want to check out. One of which I have to thank David for. He came up with an alternate plan when big winds were blowing in, and our plans to go up Farm Creek and across Wabash Castle were kind of blown out of the water. So he came up with an alternate route through Crown Land. So I'm definitely going to do that one. Very likely I'll do that one in the fall.
I think it's in your book or something, Kevin. I don't think it's, but the fact that in some way I introduced Martin to anything, I'm shocked because
you introduced me to a very fine Scotch. I can't remember what it was.
Okay, that's true, as you did to me. Well, tell everyone what that Scotch was you had, because I'd never heard of it.
It's what I'm drinking right now. Actually, it's Alkentauschen.
It sounds Bavarian.
Yeah, that's it. Kevin, you've tried that one, yeah?
Yeah, it's very nice. I was packing today for my trip, and I had to pack cheap Scotch because of all those whiskey chats I did. I got nothing.
You drained the well out, eh?
Oh my lord! I got that elderberry moonshine that Jerry DeVinner gave me, but I'm not touching that crap.
Okay. So Martin's going to an unnamed Crown Land place that we shall not speak of. Christina, where are you off to in the fall? Last trip, if you had the chance.
Lady Evelyn, maybe.
Oh.
Cabin Falls. That's on my list this year, but there's some logistics involved, and I've been off work for 3 months. I just went back pretty much 2 weeks after the parks opened up. So yay! Now I get to work instead of going camping.
Bad timing.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. I don't really plan that far ahead. I've got a couple of places in mind that I want to do, and I'm just gonna go wherever I go when the time is there, and it'll be somewhere new though for sure. I like that's my goal. I always like to try to go somewhere new every time I go on a trip if I can. What about you, Dave?
I'm a bit of a beginner to solo canoeing. As you know, Christina, you kind of got me into solo canoeing. And so anything is new to me if you go by yourself as opposed to going with other people, right? So like I went solo to Killarney last spring, and it was just a whole new experience just because I wasn't there with anybody else. So like, I don't know, Halliburton Highlands Water Trails has a lot of stuff I haven't checked out yet. Like Kevin, you recommended Black Cat Lake last June. That was beautiful. That's beautiful. That was a great little thing. So there's other stuff in there that I still have to look into. There's plenty, and that's only 2.5 hours from home for me, whereas other places are 5 or more. Temagami would be 6.5, a lot of it. So
David, you're retired.
I know, but I'm also tired. Driving is tough, right? So the quick drive is nice because if you're up at 6 or on the road by 6, you're into the water at 8:30, not noon. So that makes quite a difference for sure. What about you, Kevin? Where are you going?
It's weird. I got a whole bunch of different places planned, and they're all not the plans I had before all this.
Plans have changed.
Yeah. Phillip Edward Island. I haven't done it for a long time, so I'm doing that in July.
Kayaking?
No, open canoe, but with a deck.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't have a kayak. So there's nothing wrong with a kayak. I just you have 2 of them. I know. You can borrow
it anytime, Kevin.
Here's a really interesting story that I for some reason on Dennis's show, I tell stories I should not be telling, but I got to tell the story.
I bring out the best, Kevin. Look at that, everybody.
Oh my Lord. It's really intriguing. I was Ted at Killarney Outfitters had asked me to go up and do a media trip up there, but this is like 6 months ago. And I was good to bring Ray Goodwin from the UK and his family to Killarney, and we were going to do a trip. And it was for Explore Magazine and everything else, and everything was all set. And then the COVID thing happened, that fell apart. And then Ted gave me a call one night. He goes, "Well, we're still going to do this." I went, "Yeah, like Chrissy and I will do it, or my daughter and I will do it, or I'll do it solo with the dog." And we looked at the route. And it was a great trip. They were going to boat us because Killarney Outfitters boat you up to Bay Fin with their motorboat. And then we were going to go across the park, finish it. Great trip. And then I contacted the tourism, and they're all, yeah, great. We're going through hell right now, but that'd be great to get local people out. And then Ontario Parks, and I'm not knocking Ontario Parks, and I'm not knocking Killarney Park at all because I love the staff there. But the response was we were not doing any promotion of media trips at all in Killarney due to the COVID-19. I went, what? So I said, well, what do you mean by that? Well, we don't want to promote our park right now. I was like, okay. So I said, where can I go? And Edward Island was the answer because it's Crown land, right? So we're going to do that. But that's really interesting, though, right? I mean, I get their answer, but it's like, what do you mean you're not going to promote your park right now because of COVID? Like, that's got to be political. And I feel bad for the staff right now because of that answer. I know the guy that gave me that answer was probably like, freaking. I don't think he was happy with it. But also, I'm going to go up to Agoma, where my dad and I paddled when I was a kid. I have a whole bunch of trips for the fall for trout because I did not get my May trout trip, and I was very upset. I mean, I live by that to go up into Algonquin or wherever and catch trout in the spring, and I couldn't. And so fall is a good time just before they spawn. And I know some places in Agoma, Kirkpatrick Lake area, and all those areas are just teeming with 6-7 pound brookies. So I'm going to do that.
It's all right. Yes, Christina.
What kind of fish are you going to catch out there in Georgian Bay, Kevin? I might be going out there this weekend.
Oh, really?
I don't even know I've never fished out there.
Well, you kind of did when you went out and did the French River.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm going to be like south of there. I'm going to be closer to like Franklin, like.
Okay, so you got really good pike and bass fishing.
Okay.
There are some trout, but they're pretty deep right now, and I had the problem last week. I fished at Algonquin with even lead core. I didn't have a chance. Like it was mid June, and yeah, you're not going to catch anything. I'm sorry, Pardon Martin. I tried.
He's apologizing to you now, Mark.
Yeah, well, he owes me. He owes me a trout fishing trip.
Oh, okay. Can I just point out that I'm the only person on the panel who had somebody comment that I can take my 6.5 hour drive and shove it?
What?
He's hurting big time, Dave, because he's supposed to be up here canoeing and he can't cross the border. So his 6.5 hour drive to him is like a 12-hour drive.
Get her. I see. Okay.
There you go. I got your back, Ethan.
Yeah.
I don't have that problem. Sorry.
Can I just address one thing I saw in the comments there? Somebody asked how to load their 50-pound canoe to go solo. Steve Coots, the guy who took me canoe poling, gave me some great advice. And that is if you go to Canadian Tire, and I'm sure other places, but Canadian Tire has them, they have a collapsible stool that is about yay tall. It's rectangular, and it folds down flat. And if you put that beside your car, it's a game changer in terms of, because I have an SUV. I used to have a Jetta Sport Wagon. Putting the canoe on the Jetta Sport Wagon rack was easy. Getting on top of the SUV was tough. And I mentioned that to Stephen Coots, and he just said, you got to get the collapsible stool because you can step up on that and slide it onto the racks from the side. And yeah, made a huge difference. So I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in on that.
I have that issue a little bit because I have a Ford F-150, right? And it's a pretty tall truck.
Yeah.
And thank goodness I'm like, I've only been using my solo canoe of late, and it's light, right? So, but I get that on there and I got the pads and I kind of have to walk it on the pads across and get it all centered, then walk around the truck and back around and back around. So I do a lot of walking. I probably do about 4 kilometers to load my canoe up. But
do you have rack?
I don't have a rack. No.
Right.
No,
so you're just
use the pads.
Moving the pads across. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt says he doesn't have roof racks either, just the foam pads. Martin, you use the foam pads, but you have a light canoe. So, it's a different beast.
I have the Yakima bars, and then I have the Malone, like a V cradle. That's for the kayak, though. But I'm assuming you could use it for the canoe. My canoe's light, but my kayak is 50 pounds, I think it is.
There we go. Kevin's all loaded and ready to go.
Well,
Yeah.
I
So
have a video called My New Rack. You can check it out on my YouTube.
My
It's all
new
about
rack.
my rack.
You heard it. Christina
Clickbait.
said, check out her rack. We all heard it.
Very popular video. I don't know why.
look, I have a new rack too. All right.
Are you going to show him how to put the canoe?
Okay, Kevin, untie that thing and show Matt how to load.
Kevin Callan.
Yeah, no, this is not what I prefer. I used to have a Yano rack too, a double one, and
Can I see it? Stay
because I got a
still.
deal on the Subaru. Oh, sorry.
All right, back up so we can see it.
Okay. So I got this Subaru on sale. It was a demo. So it does not fit the double racks, and I did not know that when I bought this vehicle. I love the vehicle, but it comes with its own rack, so I can do a single one with it, but I can't put the double on unless I get the extension, which it took me 2 months to figure that out, and then it's going to be $800.
Yay.
Yeah, so I'm doing single right now. Yeah.
I just got in the car. The first thing I asked was, does it have bars? It has to have bars. Gotta have bars.
Well, and all my friends thought it was great that it got lost. They kept on hitting their heads around the vehicle, but I didn't care. It's better to have it's better to have I think a rack with you can put two canoes on, because you never know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, even with my Ford there, it's a pretty wide truck too, right? And I don't know if I'd be able to get two canoes on there without a rack.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. What is Keith Park has said an interesting comment?
Yeah.
About
Where
double.
here? Where'd he go? I've seen that one.
It's back quite a ways. Here it is.
Rex, is that the one?
No, Kevin's the only one on the paddle who's single.
Oh, here it is. Yeah.
I got to admit, I've moved to the church of the double-bladed paddle when it's solo time. That's Martin and Christina's bad influence.
You know what? I just got back
bad
to
influence. What does it matter? As long as you're out there doing what you love, who cares how you do it?
I totally agree. But when St. Peter meets you at the gates, or Mrs. Peter, whoever she is, or whoever they are, they're going to curse you up a storm, man.
We'll have two blades to hit them with, though.
Yeah, I was solo a week and a half ago, and Kevin would be proud because I actually used a single blade when I wasn't using the double blade.
I actually use a single blade in my.
You hit the fish.
I brought a spare paddle, and you'll see that in my next video. I actually used it quite a bit. It was kind of nice, and it's a little bit different. Like, have you ever tried a single paddle in your canoe there, Martin?
Yeah, sure. On day trips, I will often bring one of these paddles, one of my traditional paddles, along. I'll bring because in a pack boat you sit much lower. I'll bring my Weiss paddles because they're shorter. Because the ones for me would be too long in that boat. On a day trip I'll do that just so I can practice moves and stuff like that. But when I'm going on a canoe trip and I know that I'm going to be crossing big windy lakes and stuff like that, the double blade is king. It's way better. It's easier to maintain control. When you get hit by waves, you always have one blade pretty much that's in the water. It's easier to brace, so you're more stable. So I definitely recommend people try it. And if you don't like it as much, well, you don't like it as much. It took me a while to get used to it because I was fully committed, a devotee of the Church of the Single Blade all of my paddling life until I got a pack boat, and I thought, well, I should try this, and then I had to deconvert and take on a new religion. But there's no way I'm going to give up these. There's just too much sort of artfulness and finessing that you can do with these that I think it's really hard to do with a double blade. Even doing a little rapid with a double bladed paddle it's tough. Well, David actually shot a tiny little rapid. We did about a 70-foot little rapid, somewhere between a class 1 and a class 2. What's that?
You told me it was class 5.
And and I don't know that he'd ever done that with that boat yet, and
Nope.
and certainly not with a double blade. And it's hard with a double blade to maneuver in rapids and slow yourself and side slip and stuff like that when you're not used to it. I'm sure a kayaker knows exactly how to do all those moves, but I'm a traditional single blade paddler, so when I do it with a double blade, it looks pretty awkward and clumsy, and the boat's not as responsive as I would like. So in that instance, I would have liked to have had my single blade. I would have, felt a little bit, a little less clumsy.
So Christina, you want to tell us about your new canoe that you have there?
My H2O, I got it's pretty much the same as the boat I had last year. They're going to be, I guess, giving me 3 to try out this year, like to take out on trips and kind of talk about them and stuff. But the first one is the 14.6 Pro Light, which is basically the same one I had last year, but this one's made of Kevlar and it's got color in it, which I love. Mm-hmm. And the other one was made of the rock. I just forgot what it was called. Anyone?
Nope.
No. It's volcanic rock.
No.
Really?
Not pumice.
Not pumice?
Pumice is volcanic rock.
And Negra basalt, it's called.
Basalt.
Oh, okay.
Negra basalt, but this one's Kevlar, but it's pretty much similar. The only problem I'm having is the front thwart is a little bit farther up on this canoe. So when I set up my portage gig, like I put the paddles across and like put them over my shoulders and stuff, and they're falling out because it's just a little bit too short. So I'm getting a bigger kayak paddle this weekend. I think I'm switching it with someone, and hopefully that'll solve the problem. But I haven't portaged it much. I was supposed to do a big trip last week, and I had a little problem with the access road. So I had to reroute myself, and then I had winds and thunder and lightning. And so it was just a show basically.
You actually had a good video out there a couple weeks back too, when you got your H2O, about how you outfit it and stuff like that.
I was really surprised how well that did. I thought people would just be like, yeah, whatever, what's that about? But a lot of people, I got a lot of good comments that, I have a Swift boat, I'm going to do that with mine and stuff like that. So, it's just little things that I did do to hook my water bottle in so it's not rolling around on the floor and stuff like that. And it went really well. I was really surprised, but it's kind of like your home for a lot of the time when you're out there, right? So it's good to have everything as a place, and it helps. I like to be organized, right? I know where everything is, so I know I have everything.
Yeah, that was a particularly good video, Christina. I mean, I've been sort of paddling for a long time, and I've sort of worked out all the logistics about where I want things and how I'm going to carry things, on portages and stuff like that. But there was all kinds of suggestions there that I thought, oh, I never thought to do that. That's really good. I mean, those are really useful instructional videos. That was a particularly good one. I recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it.
There's a lot of good comments too. A lot of people comment and they give tips too. And I love that when people share their advice as well. Like it's great to go through them and read them and be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea too. Like I never thought of that. Yeah.
At least there's sun chips there, Ethan.
Great comment.
So I got a question for everybody on the panel here. We've all been out for our first trip of the season already, right? Is anybody else like me, and before you set out and jump into the canoe for your first time, you feel really disorganized?
Ask Martin what I told him, and I think I said this to you too, Christina.
I don't remember. You'll have to remind me, David.
I said, I've forgotten. I feel like I've forgotten how to do any of this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was the same thing with me. I'm putting my gear in there, and it's like, it seemed like I had all these loose items all over the place.
Yeah. And
trying to find a clip.
I was like, what? And Martin, you can verify this. The night before we went, we were going to go to Plan B.
Yes.
And I actually messaged Martin and said, do you have, I just realized I don't have any maps. And then maps? Who uses maps? I'm thinking, I got a Garmin app right on my phone. Like, what would I need a map for?
I'm glad you guys postponed.
My phone died, but
It would have been a bad start for sure.
It would have been impossible where we were going. It was well-washed.
I was out there, right? So when I saw your post, I was like, I got to send you guys a message because it's like it's not nice out here at all. Even with a double blade, it was a rough paddle in those white caps. I was on a big lake, Wasaksina in Temagami.
Oh, that's a beauty lake. I hear half it's burnt down.
Nice to me. No. Yeah, well, when I got to camp, I got a signal. I had 2 bars there. I don't know how, and it said that it was 47-kilometer wind gusts. So I was like, oh.
Wow.
That's scary. Gusts like that, you can get unlucky and have your tarp shredded. You know, if your tent is not secured, it can start tumbling, I moved my tent 3 times because there were some shady looking trees and they were groaning and creaking, and I was just like, no. Yeah, and you better tie your canoe down. Oh yeah, I always do. No matter what. I have to. I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm like, canoe's got to be tied. Yeah.
So you guys are talking about the bug-free zone, and now you're talking about wind. Well, when I was up on my trip here, I run into a situation. The second day, I ended up windbound on the point or on the island I was camping on. So I figured, I got to try and set up this Eureka bug-free zone. I bought the 13. Well, I'll tell you, man, I'm lucky it didn't carry me away. The wind was so strong, I couldn't set it up.
Is that the one with the 2 separate pieces?
Pardon me?
Is the 13 the one with the 2 separate pieces? The mesh?
No, it's one. It's just the bigger of the
no bug zone.
Yeah. And I couldn't set it up. I had my ridge line set up, and then I went to peg it in, and then realized I'm trying to peg it into this much dirt because all underneath was all rock. So needless to say, I didn't use the bug-free zone for the trip.
On kite surfing.
Well, you probably didn't need it. I didn't have barely any bugs because there was so much wind. It was awesome.
Well, I wanted to set it up because I knew the next 2 days were going to be buggy, right? Because it was supposed to be dead calm, which it was, and the bugs were bad. So, yeah.
A storm's coming. I got to go inside.
It's here already.
While I'm doing that, when you went on your first trip, what were the things you forgot?
Oh. I'm surprised. I never forgot anything. I did pretty damn good this time around.
I got my cheese shredder for my pizza.
Oh,
it wasn't major though. I just sliced it really thin. It came out better.
It didn't turn around.
Yeah.
No. Well,
that's a game changer.
Why, Kevin? What do you plan on forgetting?
Oh well, I gotta go inside now. It's storming. You keep going. I gotta stop.
I don't think I forgot anything. I think I just brought too much stuff.
Same here.
But
you, Dave.
Oh, shut up.
I brought too much. I brought a bug-free zone that I carried all the way in and all the way back.
The bug-free zone. I talked Martin into bringing the bug-free zone. So that was my one victory right there. Is I got somebody to carry it. But he still showed up with half the pack that I had, and he had a bug-free zone in it.
Really?
But he eats dehydrated keto diet.
Well, he doesn't eat all that crap. So
he eats once a day and then drinks 15 cups of coffee. So
I have coffee about 2 or 3 times a day.
This is thing. Oh, seriously, I'm gonna get a drink, but I want to know what it's really like to paddle with Pine Martin.
Was it really like? It was great. It was an excellent experience. Well,
no, we had a terrific trip.
He just said they forgot their supper on.
Way to go, Mark. Way to go.
Martin had 8 days worth of food. Right,
that's what the emergency oatmeal's for.
Yeah, originally it was gonna be I think was it 3 nights, 4 days?
Yeah, 3 nights.
And then it got postponed because of something. I don't know if it was weather or what. And then it got shortened to 3 days. And I thought, well, maybe I should bring a little extra just in case David doesn't bring enough, So I brought a little extra so that if you forgot a meal or you're cooking a meal and you knock something over and your meal is spoiled, I'll have an extra meal for him and an extra meal. So I ended up having like 5 days worth of food for a 3-day trip, which was preposterous. So I had almost 50% more food than I needed. So actually more than 50%. It was still small.
Poland.
But I eat plenty.
How are you?
What's up?
Oh, just somebody greeting us from Poland. Hello. Welcome to the stream.
I'm curious what kind of canoeing one does in Poland, if any. Like, I'm not familiar with the terrain in Poland, and
It's flat.
yeah, I sort of imagine it being
Flat.
yeah.
So
So Mama Bear wants to know, do we all carry chairs?
Depends on the trip.
this is controversial.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Whether you carry a chair or not?
Yeah. Well,
I carry a chair. I got one of those little foldable ones I got from Kid Products. They're
Yeah,
they're
I
the
have
bomb,
a
man.
small folding chair similar to the what are they called?
Sunset.
Yeah,
Tripod?
Helinox. Yeah, it's not
Helinox, yeah.
Helinox. It's a cheap knockoff, but I'm very happy with it. And it's high back, which I like. And for the longest time, I didn't bring chairs. I would always fashion something. So in early days, I would use the Thermarest chair. You know, that sleeve, and you fold up the Thermarest pad. But you have to sit it up on something, or else you got to sort of recline way back. So we used that for years. But as I've gotten older, I wanted something where I wasn't reclining so much. But I had a back injury, and almost every light packing chair that I could find hurt my back like crazy. So I didn't get any of the Helinox chairs or anything. So I would fashion a stool I would just, find some dead standing wood or something like that. Or if I was on Crown land, I could cut like some live saplings, and I could make a little tripod chair with a piece of fabric that I had stitched together. And that was great. It was basically just a stool with no back support, but I was able to sit upright and eat comfortably. So I did that for many years. But then recently I found a chair it's a cheap knockoff of the Helinox style chairs. And it's high back, and it gives me just the right kind of back support. So I'm back to using a chair, like a real chair camping the first time. Weighs about 3 pounds. It's my luxury item. It takes up more room than I like, and it weighs more than I would like, but it's worth it, especially on a longer trip. Like, we did a 9-day trip where we were windbound for 3 of them. So really, we were just pinned down in camp and couldn't do much. Pouring rain and wind, and I was so happy to have that chair on those days. Believe me, because it was really almost nowhere you could go, nothing you could do. So yeah, a chair is indispensable on a longer trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kevin, you need a chair?
What
How about
happened?
you, Kevin? You carry your little chair?
Well, I'm 56 years old, so I take a chair. Yes. But
That's my answer.
the latest one I got, though, I love Helinox. I think they're fantastic. I had to take a second mortgage out to get one, but the Eureka has a sort of a knockoff too that I tried the last 2 years. I like it because it's got the knobs at the end, so you don't stick in the sand. I know there's a whole bunch of ways that you can make that work, but it comes with it. So, and it's cheaper too. So I've been using that. I do remember not bringing a chair years ago when my buddy Andy and I went to Quetico. We did a 28-day canoe trip there, and he brought a chair, and I made fun of him. And we were a lot younger at the time. And on day 5, I was begging for at least 5 minutes to sit on the chair.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
I have to say, and I don't want to I don't know how to say this without perhaps coming across, but I found that chair versus no chair is one of those things that some people use to kind of lord it over other people that, I just lean against a tree, or, I just sit on a log. And I'm thinking, dude, like, some of us are, Kevin and I are exactly the same age. If that's what's going to keep us out there, go with the chair. I mean, you got to do what keeps you going, right? So I always had to have back support. Like, just sitting on a log around a fire I always found that very difficult. I would sit on the ground and lean back against the log, except often the log's too close to the fire pit to pull that off. You catch fire when you're trying to pull that off. But yeah, it's if you need a chair, take a chair. It's worth every pound.
Well, just like Martin said, if it's your comfort item, bring it as your comfort item, right? Because there's nothing like, sitting by the fire, like you say, David, and you want to do that big stretch without falling off the back of the log you're sitting on, right? Yeah. So at least you got some sort of
feet up in the air and back on the ground, and yeah. And I mean, winter camping, and Christina, you don't take a chair winter camping, but I know when I did my solo trip,
I take a chair winter camping.
Oh, you do? I'm sorry, I thought you did. You sat on the on your cot when you were. No, you've got a chair as well.
Yeah, I sat on my cot, but I had chairs there. I don't bring the cot is only for car camping. I don't take the cot out into the backcountry. Backcountry is there, and
So
you
then
gotta
you-
have those little feet, like Kevin said, because you will sink into the snow and your ass. Am I allowed to say ass? Sorry, your butt will be sitting right on the snow. Sue's got a chair. It's got no feet. We go in the hot tent. And her butt is literally in the snow, and you gotta have those feet. They're important.
Oh,
You know,
that's hilarious. Wait a minute, guys. The OG in the canoe.
well, single blade chair versus double blade chair.
No.
That one.
No, you're right, Mark. Christina does look a lot younger.
It's safe to say she is. I mean, David and Kevin and I are all the same age.
I'm pretty sure she is.
I'm right there too.
I'm 50 now, so
Yeah, she's like
I'm 55.
She's 5 years younger, 6 years younger than me, and in dog years, that's like 30. So I'm 30 years older than her. You know?
So my answer to that question is I bring a chair depending on the trip. If I'm doing like a big portaging trip, I bring my hammock because it takes up a lot less space. It's a lot lighter.
Yeah,
and
I bring my walker.
I'm done. Like I trip all day, so then I just what?
He brings his walker.
Whatever. You're not that old.
That's a good idea, Kevin. As long as it's one of them ones you could park the brake and sit on it.
Sit on it. It doesn't have a sneaker. Hey, we achieved our goal. We offended somebody named Nifty Paddler. She's offended. Okay. I don't know. Yeah. So
I think it takes more than that to offend him. Yeah.
It's the time for social media offense. So everybody's offended about something.
that's right. Easily offended.
Easily offended.
Oh yeah, Avid Outdoors guy did 30 years in the Army. So yeah, you're right. You do win. That would do it. Anyway, yeah, by the way, somebody asked a question back further about they're a big person, they said, quote unquote. What chair? I'm a big person, and the Helinox handles me, and my buddy sat in it, and he's a bigger person than I am. So I forget what they're rated to, but they are the Sunset is definitely rated to handle my weight. So if you're less than like 230 or less, I think you're good.
Actually, a good example of that too, because them chairs they do have different strength levels too, right? Because Joe Robinette and Doug Linker just put out videos. They went on a canoe trip, and they both had the Helinox chairs, but they were different models, right? And one was really stiff, I think Doug's, and then Joe's was like really, really wonky type of thing, right? So, you know, if you're gonna buy something like that, you really want to try the thing out.
Yeah, try it out and check the specs on it, because I know I had to look carefully at the specs to make sure. Whereas Pine Martin here, he can buy the child's chair. And really fine, you know. It's
kind of hard to do though. If a lot of people buy those things off of Amazon and stuff like that, and you can't try it until you get it, right?
No, you can't try it, but they do give
have
a
weight ratings on them.
Yeah, they do give weight ratings. And if you're one of the lucky people, you're not in the habit of noticing those, but some of us, let's just say, are in the habit of noticing those. So I usually check that out. And, yeah. Now, and I'm willing to bet, I don't quote me on this, but most manufacturers, like if they rate it for 230, you're probably good at 250. Like, you know, they put a fudge factor in there because they don't want, you know, to guarantee it up to 250, but I'm sure it would probably handle it. So, yeah. Oh, and one other thing you were saying about the feet on the Helinox, I went and bought, there's a thing you can buy for the Helinox that is like a
piece of material.
Yeah, it's a piece of material goes under it so that it can't sink down. I tried rebar caps. Somebody had mentioned that online, but I couldn't get them to fit on the particular Sunset chair, or I got the wrong rebar caps maybe.
Tennis balls. Tennis balls work.
Tennis balls. Somebody had mentioned. Yeah.
Why would you pack 4 tennis balls? Like
my dog would keep stealing them.
Well, yeah, you could throw them at people. You know, that's somebody snores in the tent. You can let them have it with one. But
are you saying Pine Martin snored on that trip?
I cannot confirm or deny that I may have said such a thing.
I do not snore.
We were socially distanced with our tents. He was on like the other side of the island, for God's sake. So, yeah, there wasn't a lot of flat land really at that campsite. So we were.
What? There was a lot of flash ones? What?
Get your audio checked there, big guy.
Well, here's a cool question too. I've never heard this question asked. Does everyone have a favorite side when paddling, or do you try to even it out?
Oh, really good question.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mostly paddle right. I really have a hard time when I paddle left because I can paddle all day on my right side, which is not a good thing. It's not a good practice. You should try to even it out.
Yeah.
But my wife really likes paddling left when she's in the bow. So there's no point in switching unless she switches. So it's hard to convince her. So I end up paddling right pretty much all day long. When I go solo, I switch it up.
That's a really good question. It's a tough one too. I'm left-handed, so I paddle left, which is really good because most people I go with will paddle right. So I'm good. And I really try to paddle right, and I could, but I can't do it all day. Like I really can't mentally. It's just like, no, I'm left-handed. And actually, it was funny. My daughter and I went out a couple weeks ago just on the lake here to paddle, or last week. And she's in the bow, and then she started paddling left. I went, "Why are you paddling left? You're right-handed." She goes, "Well, when we were growing up, I was always on the left side of mom, and so therefore I paddle left." And I went, "No, you can't paddle left. Like I'm in the back, and like I can't do that. Like I'll try, but I couldn't do it, and it makes a huge difference. If you're, what's the term?
Ambidextrous.
Yeah.
Really good. But
or what guys on Paddling Adventures Radio call it something. Oh, they had a big crack up over it. I'm gonna have to ask Sean Rowley.
I didn't hear that.
Two-handed. What was it? Oh man,
Christina, do you?
He couldn't remember the word ambidextrous. So
Oh no.
Left paddler, or I know you double blade a lot.
Right side.
Your right side.
Yeah, usually, but I switch a lot too.
Yeah.
But I'm stronger on the right. Yeah, I'm right-handed, so.
I actually had a questionnaire for Susan when I met her, and one of the questions was, do you paddle left or right? And she paddles left, and I paddle right, so we're a perfect partnership that way. But
Yeah.
I can actually paddle.
You ever fill out a questionnaire?
Oh, yeah. I highly recommend.
You don't understand what a ladies' man David is.
I know. Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
for anybody that wants that questionnaire, I'm sure Dave will send it out to you.
It won't work for her when David is such a ladies' man that women are lined up.
We'll put the
and
link
he
in the
can-
description below.
It's hard to believe. Hard to believe.
He has strict criteria.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah, me myself, I'm primarily left-handed. Actually, when I was growing up, I always used to pick up crayons and stuff to use with my left hand, and my mom would always pull them out of my hand and put them in my right hand. So she kind of forced me to be right-handed. But I shoot left hockey, I swing left golf, swing left baseball, and now I tend to paddle with the left hand more. But I'm comfortable on either side, so it's kind of nice if you have to switch it up once in a while, right?
That is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mama Bear
What's
had a
so
question.
funny, Kevin? You look like you're ready to pee yourself.
Yeah.
I have so many things I could say right now, and I'm not saying a word.
Family show, man. It's a family show.
I would love to have Dave's partner on as well. Is she around?
No.
Oh, really?
Now,
Thing.
what time is it? 8:14? She's in bed already.
That's why David's still playing tonight.
That's right. That's right.
Next question.
Okay. With that being said, Mr. Park wants to know, what's the one word to describe how you feel when paddling a canoe?
Ooh.
One word.
Joy.
Good questions tonight.
Oh, Christina, what'd you say?
Joy.
Joy?
Short and sweet.
Fortunate.
Ooh.
Satisfied.
Kevin?
Kevin's like, what's the question?
What's the question again?
One word to describe. One word to describe how you feel when you're paddling a canoe.
Myself. Yeah.
Yourself? Relieved.
Relieved?
Relieved. Every time I get out there, I just feel this overwhelming sense of relief.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, right? So, good question, Keith. That's a cool
I have
one.
a question for other panelists. I want to know how universal this is, because I suspect it's very common, if not universal, among paddlers. When you're done a portage, especially if it's a difficult one, and it's hot and sweaty and it's been buggy, and when you finally put that boat in the water and load your gear in and get in the water, and you go from sort of grueling, suffering, slow moving to suddenly just effortlessly gliding, does it not feel like the greatest feeling in the world? Right? Does it not feel to you like all the suffering is negated and doesn't matter? That's how it feels to me, no matter how awful the portages are. It always feels like, oh, it's so good. I just feel this weight is lifted. I feel weightless. Does everyone feel that? Or am I the only one? I mean, I'm curious what people think.
I always feel a sense of relief. There's that relief word again.
A couple of strokes in, and then the wind starts going, and the bugs start going away.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Until the next one.
Yeah, but it's such a high. Like, it's worth it just for that. It's a weird thing. I find that enormously satisfying, because there's almost nothing else in my life where there's something that can be that difficult, immediately followed by sort of an extreme sense of relief and gratification and ease. It's but the only thing I can think of that is, reliably followed by sort of intense suffering. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Today, I got a surprise. I was traveling back and forth for the clinic, and all of a sudden I got, hey, CBC Montreal live noon. Can you be on in 3 minutes? I was like, oh, okay. And I do this a lot, but it's not easy all of a sudden to be, oh. And I said, what's the live show about? Well, it seems that everybody's not going anywhere right now except going camping and canoeing and paddling and backpacking. What's with that? And so I was on live, and they said, what's with this? What's going on? I said, well, we can't go anywhere. Like, the travelers are staying in province. And then if you think back in history, after World War II, after World War I, after the Great Depression, people went out camping because they went out to do something cheap, but also to actually to reconnect with nature. And the whole crew, so the sound person, the host, the co-host, were saying, we don't camp, we don't canoe. What's the big deal? What is with this? And I actually did say, I go, you go out there and you'll be your own self. You'll be your true self. There's no facade. There's no changing your character. If you're at work, you are a chameleon. You'll be whoever you want to make everybody at peace amongst yourselves. And by the end of that interview, I had them all convinced they were going on a canoe trip with me. So, so it's really cool how we all think that we know. Well, we all know what it's like, that whole true meaning. But it's to convince someone else that's never done that before to live in inner city of Montreal, doing a COVID thing and saying, okay, why are people escaping off to the woods right now? I don't get it. I think these words that we're telling everybody tonight, everybody is listing all these one single words about what they feel out there. I think that's it. And the only way to ever get them to agree is to take them by the ear and take them on a trip.
Yeah. I had that comment today. I posted a little video clip of me reading, I was reading one of Hap's books on the rocks there and just the water, lapping up on the shore, and someone said, oh, like, this is heaven, right? Like, people don't know that this is what it's like, and I said, yeah. And meanwhile, there are people that are paying thousands of dollars to go all the way down south to a Caribbean island to sit on a beach and have these waves lapping, and it's right here, but they don't know. They don't know it's there, and they don't know what it's like. So it's important, I think, for people to learn about that, because it's right here in our backyards, Why do you have to go to another country?
Mm-hmm.
I know we have bugs, and they have bugs in the Caribbean too. I mean, not like we do, but
Here's a cool comment from Mark here. If I can get it to pop up here, hold on a sec. Now where to go? Nope. We spend a lot of money to be like homeless people, don't we? Isn't it true?
That's a tough one, because I've talked to also people from other countries that, I say, hey, we should go camping. And they're like, well, that's just wrong. No, like we're escaping living in a tent. Why would we want to do that? And I take students out that actually are from countries like that. And it's totally different. It's not a homeless thing. It's not actually going off and being what do they call when you're living in a tent in some country. It's not that at all. It's it's totally separate. But you have to convince them of that, and you have to sort of say, this is the Canadian thing, to go on a canoe trip, backpacking trip, camping trip, whatever. And it's not a demise or negative thing. It's a positive thing. And they get it. They really do. We joke about it a lot. I mean, my Lord, the students that I take out, they're like, Kevin, you're telling me we're going to go out and live in a tent? I just escaped a country where that's all we had to do, and that's why we escaped. And I went, no, it's different. So, but I think that's a really good comment. I'm blabbing.
Just to back up that question, though, for a comment from Mark there, I'd go out there and I'd sleep in a cardboard box if it wasn't so damn difficult to carry out there. It doesn't matter a tent or Okay, doesn't matter.
Well, no, that's good. So open air outdoors said so good. In Canada, it's camping.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's a good comment.
Now, you want to hear something weird along that vein? Today, I went out into the bush. There's an area of Crown land that's not too far from here. And I went out just for the day. It was going to rain, and I knew it was going to rain. And I went out, and I just brought a tarp and a little metal cup and, some instant coffee. And my whole plan was just to go out, string my tarp, make a little fire, and enjoy a cup of coffee in the rain. Yes, there were mosquitoes, but once you get the fire going under the tarp, you get a little stink of wood smoke under there. It kind of drives them out, and you're fine. And that's how I spent my afternoon. I spent about 3.5, 4 hours in the bush today, just for that, right? I mean, and a camping trip is like that. There's a little bit more work involved because you got to get there and then make camp. And this was a place that I'm familiar with, and so there was not a lot of work involved. But it's just so nice just to be in that kind of situation, just to be surrounded by rain and hearing the wind in the trees and the smell of wood smoke and enjoying a cup of coffee. And it just felt fantastic. And it's hard to explain this to people. It sounds weird, but one of the things I think is so gratifying about camping and sort of living outdoors, as opposed to just a day hike where you sort of go in and out, and you're back in your dry clothes in your car in your warm house later. When you're camping out there, you have to live out there. And there's something that I think speaks to us very, very deeply about earning your keep, about having to live with only what you brought and what you can find and what you can fashion while you're out there, right? You're sort of thrown back on your own intellectual and physical resources and capacities. And I think that's natural for us. So our bodies and brains are evolved and adapted to do this. Our ancestors did it for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, depending on how far back you want to include humans in our ancestry. I mean, I think it's just natural for us to be satisfied and at ease and at peace in such places, because that was home. And now we think of it as kind of weird and exotic, and we have to sort of relearn to do that. But what we don't have to relearn to do is how to enjoy it. Once you acquire a bit of skill and comfort out there, because you've got the right gear and you know what you're doing, being happy and enjoying yourself out there is natural. You don't have to. That's not something I think that you have to learn and acquire. I think when people try camping and they have a bad time, it's because they don't know what they're doing. They don't have the right gear. They're doing everything wrong. Everything's going wrong, and so it's just an exercise in adversity. I think that's why they don't like it. But when people do know what they're doing, if they go with someone who's experienced and knows what they're doing, can show them the ropes, they almost always like it. I seldom hear of a story of someone going camping with someone where that person that they went with really knew what they were doing, and they came away going, "Oh, it was awful." I mean, you really had to have some bad luck, really bad bugs and really bad weather or something like that they couldn't cope with or something like that. But usually people love it. They come away thinking, "Wow, that's great." And it doesn't necessarily mean that they want to become, a canoe camper. but they at least understand what the satisfaction was, right? And if someone's doing all the work for them, then they are being denied some of the satisfaction, because a lot of the satisfaction, I think, comes from earning your keep, doing it yourself, and getting the feeling of gratification that comes from being able to live out there yourself and sort of earning that. I think that's a really, it's very deep in us.
It's like the same thing too, where the CBC news shows asked me today, and they're all newbies and they had no idea what camping was all about, but they knew there was a whole big surge on it. They said, well, what is the big skill set we should go out with? The one thing, if we've never done this before. And I said, have a sense of fun and exploration. And of course, they were expecting me to say a bunch of other things. They're like, what? I went, if you're not going out there to have fun and explore, if you're trying to go out there to survive and not thrive, then what the hell? And also, they go, what gear? And I actually, guys, you might want to comment on this. It's like, I said a tarp, a really good tarp, to put over a fire during a rainstorm, to have camaraderie, to experience where you're out, not to try to escape. And that's my number one piece of gear, I think. That's a weird question, but a good tarp.
No, it's a good piece of gear to have with you for sure.
Yeah.
Or the bug-free zone.
Well, actually, can I just add to that? The tarp, I mean, when people start camping, whether it's backpacking or canoeing, usually the thing that they think is most important is the tent. And a tent, of course, is important, right? I mean, it is even if it's like a doghouse, really, it is your shelter. It's going to keep you warm and dry at night and away from the bugs. So that's absolutely critical, I think. But a tarp is where you're going to live. And as soon as you decide, I'm going to bring a tarp with my tent, you're outside, you've got a view, you're by the fire, you're in the company of other people. A tent is this kind of private little doghouse where you're going to sleep. And I don't do anything in my tent except sleep. That's it, right? I don't spend any time in my tent. Yep, go ahead, David.
No, careful. Family show. Yeah. Martin, we talked a little bit about this on our trip. We were talking about sense of place, right? And geographers have a term, sense of place, where each unique place has certain characteristics that make it unique and attract, and everybody's got their favorite lake, their favorite campsite that they would go back to if they could, because of its sense of place. But that tarp is so much a part of not the natural sense of place, because obviously you brought it from the outside, but it establishes that sense of place that is communal, and it is comfortable, and it is sheltered, and it gives you that sense of what do you got there?
Well, you got a pillow on your lap. I'm gonna get a pillow.
Yes, I do. Yes, I'm leaning on it. Anyway, so I agree that the tarp is. I see people camping without a tarp, and I don't get it. I mean, if it rains, you're stuck in your tent, or you're standing around in your rain gear. I don't know, but yeah, I don't get that. I don't understand how that. I don't know, Christine. Do you take a tarp with you when you go?
I take a tarp. Depends on the trip again and the weather and what I'm expecting. But the bug shelter has a tarp in it. There's no way I'm going out anywhere. I don't care how many portages I'm doing. I'm carrying that bug shelter with me in June, July, especially in Temagami. There's nothing like having that peace after having in your ears all day. And there's a tarp on it, but I usually bring a small one if I don't bring the bug shelter, which is, it's the space that it takes up. It's priceless to have it for cooking and stuff like that, especially when you're making meals and, who wants to sit out in the pouring rain cooking and stuff after you've been tripping all day in it? Like, it's just uncomfortable. Yeah. So yeah, I almost always have one. And if I'm doing a trip where I'm staying somewhere for a couple of nights, like something with Sue, I bring the big one. Because it doesn't matter what the weather's doing. You can sit there and have a fire and enjoy yourself no matter what. So,
and it's not just for rain. I mean, it's a wind wall. You can set it up so to block the wind. It provides shade on a hot, sunny day when when you're getting your brain baked in full sun. You don't want to be in a tent in those conditions.
Yeah.
And there isn't always shade where you're camping, right?
Yeah.
You don't always have the good fortune, right, of having shade. So.
And Martin, you and I have talked about, and if somebody ever asked me, what's the number one thing you wish more people were aware of as a skill, being able to make a twig fire under a tarp on, a flat rock, just keeping that very small. It drives the bugs away. It dries the air out under the tarp. That is huge. When you go in the fall and it's kind of damp or cool out, or you get a damp day where you planned on not moving, because I'm kind of a base camper, so I don't move around a lot. But having a tarp and having a fire under the tarp is just golden. I mean, it changes the entire.
Yeah,
it's a game changer for sure.
Twig stoves work great for that too, right? They're a great way to keep your fire contained and.
Well, and Martin sort of got me onto this, and it's something I've tried to do, is the idea of sort of building up a hearth so that you have some thermal mass. So like getting a decently flat rock, but propping it up on some rocks so that you can build a twig fire on top of it. You're not damaging any of the fragile root structure underneath, but you're also heating that rock up and really making good use of the small amount of heat that you generate with a twig fire or a small stick fire. And my last trip last year was just to Big East Lake in Halliburton Highlands. And I had a full day of drizzle, and it was just, it wasn't a great day to be out there. But man, you get under the tarp and you get that fire going, and it's comfortable, it's homey, it's really worth doing. And
it's a microclimate, right? I mean, if you can heat up some rock, as you said, you don't have to build a big fire ring. That's overkill. You don't need that at all. And in fact, if you build a big round fire ring, it tends to prevent oxygen from getting to your fire, right? But I mean, if you can just have a couple of rocks or a big flat rock on which you build your fire, that rock will absorb all that heat and it will continue to radiate it out afterwards. It releases it rather slowly to the air, and it just dries out the air under the tarp. I mean, if you have a huge tarp the size of a palace, that's obviously no good. But if you have a small tarp, 8x10 or something like that, or 10x10, right? You can absolutely dry out the air under there. And it's really nice because when you reach for something, even though it's soaking wet all around you, you reach for something under the tarp and it's warm and dry. And man, that keeps your hands warm and dry, and it keeps you toasty because the air is toasty. The air is not damp and cold. It doesn't get into your bones the way it would be if you didn't have that fire under the tarp. You got to make a small fire because you don't want to burn holes in your tarp or melt your tarp or anything like that. But if you build a small fire, like you said, it makes a difference. And this is something actually that I sort of have been doing a lot lately. Is I have a tiny little twig stove. David, you saw it on the last trip. And I kept a twig stove going practically the whole time that we were in our bug shelter, because our bug shelter it was 8x8, the one we were sharing, and it was 11.5 feet across, corner to corner. So we sat in opposite corners. We were able to maintain some social distance. But it was a big enough shelter that there's a million mosquitoes in there already when you set it up. They're just sort of living in the duff, right? You set it up and there's a million mosquitoes, and every time you come in, you got to do the bug dance to keep them off you. And inevitably, half a dozen follow you in there. But if you just light a little twig stove and let a little wisp of smoke go in there, that just drives them crazy. They just move to the sides of the shelter, and they tried, they'll cling to the top of the screen or the tarp above you or something like that, and it just drives them out. I did that today. I mean, I had a million mosquitoes around me. They were biting the heck out of me while I was setting up the tarp and getting the fire going. But as soon as I got that fire going, they left me. It's like magic, right? I mean, that's part of the practice of smudging this way, is you don't have to have a big smoky fire the whole time. But once the area under the tarp reeks of smoke, the mosquitoes are loath to come back in. Eventually the air gets changed up and they start to come back, and then you just throw something on to get the smoke going again, and in a minute or two they're gone. It works wonders. So yeah, a small fire and a tarp is a microclimate, and it even works against bugs. It makes all the difference, especially in spring and autumn.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis,
yeah,
two comments. The OJ in the canoe, you might want to post his comment.
That's fine. Which one? Man, that rocks.
Just read it to you. Kevin, can you safely say that the bear on your pillow has caught more trout than Pine Martin?
That is absolutely true.
Okay. And the other is joining us or what?
Oh, it's a real comment. I thought you made
You see what you've done? Did you see what you've done, Mr. Callan? Kevin needs to know that I have named my double blade Callan, just so you know. My double blade is named after you.
Thank you.
Show us the pillow again. Show us the pillow again.
All right, here we go. Here. I got this pillow when I moved here. My daughter, we went to the farmer's market, and I bought this off some person, and she goes, "Dad, that's just a stupid pillow." And I said, "Yeah, and I can buy it because I own this place." So there, Chris Bruce, come on, where are you?
Kraus, like house.
Oh, sorry, damn it! Oh, say your name wrong.
You taught me that.
Martin, I've actually got a question for you, Martin. I'm surprised I've never asked you this in all the times that you've been on the show. Is you're a very knowledgeable fella, okay? No matter what Kevin Callan thinks, you're a very knowledgeable fella.
Yeah.
Not about angling. Evidently not about angling.
College. Like what's your background? Where did you pick all this stuff up? How long have you been doing this?
Oh, I mean about camping?
Yeah, like camping, like to build this wealth of knowledge that you have.
Oh, well, I mean, I just started when I was a boy. I mean, I grew up in rural Quebec, and I grew up on the shores of the Ottawa River. Oddly enough, we never did any canoeing. We didn't have a canoe. We didn't have a boat at all, in fact. But the area right behind my house was nothing but woods. As far as you could see in any direction, it was nothing but woods. And my front yard was the Ottawa River. So we played on the beaches, we played on the shores, we played in the woods. I was winter camping, I think when I was maybe as early as 10, sort of just like in the yard, right? But then within a couple of years, we were out in the woods with our buddies in Quincy's. We didn't know they were called Quincy's. We were calling them igloos. They weren't igloos, but we called them igloos. So, I mean, it started there, and I just, would read books and stuff like that. And I came to canoe camping very late in life. I think I was about 30 or just about 30 or something like that. Quite late in life. Went on a day trip canoeing, and I just immediately fell in love with it. Within 90 minutes, I told my wife we're buying a canoe. We just rented a canoe for a day trip for about an hour and a half. And on the way back, I just said, we're buying a canoe. I'm getting one made. And I lived in London, Ontario, and I went to Novacraft, and we ordered one, and they built us a prospector, and we started canoe camping and read everything I could get my hands on the subject, from Cliff Jacobson to Bill Mason, and watched all of the Bill Mason videos. And then I discovered Canadian Canoe Routes. Kevin's books were recommended to me when I bought
it. Should have left that out.
And no, but I mean, I learned an awful lot about canoe camping from Kevin because I had done backpacking and stuff like that. So I just learned by doing a lot of camping from early on. And I mean, that's how I know this stuff. I don't think I'm sort of have any particular expertise in this. I mean, I wouldn't do what Kevin has done, for instance. I mean, I wouldn't think to write a book on the subject. I wouldn't think to take people out on trips, guiding and that kind of stuff. I would feel kind of out of place doing that. But I really do love imparting what I have learned along the way and what I know works for me anyway. So I make instructional videos about that, but I have no formal instruction or anything like that. So it's just you just do a lot of it, and you learn some stuff, and you pass along what you learn, and try not to fake anything, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Kevin.
Well, I've only been out in the woods a couple times with Pine Martin, but Dennis, ethical person, really knowledgeable person. I learn a lot just even a day in the woods with him. So fantastic. I think a lot of us though have learned just on our own. I've never taken a canoe course in my life. I just watch Bill Mason films all the time.
I took the courses after.
Yeah, well, that's true, and I did too. And I did the day.
That was for confidence, mostly for soloing, though. I think too.
Yeah, but I think too. I talking to you around the fire Camper Christina is like, yeah, you basically had this passion to do it, and you just did it, and learned and by your trial and error. I mean, my God, the things I did that were like, what the hell was I thinking? And I always think that if you make a blooper once, that's learning. If you do a blooper twice or three times, that's just a blooper.
Yeah.
So going back to the MyCCR thing, the Canadian Canoers thing. Remember back in the day, maybe Dave is old enough too to remember. That was our source of information back then.
Oh yeah.
I learned so much from that site.
Wow.
Invaluable.
A shout out to Richard Munn, who started it as Ontario Canoe Routes way back in the early 2000s, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge wealth of information on routes and equipment and just discussion and so on. And to be honest, I've moved away from it a bit now that Facebook groups have become a thing, but it is better organized and it's certainly searchable, and you can look up topics and so on. So it is an invaluable. And of course, like I was just thinking, and obviously I'm not a YouTuber, I'm not a video person, but I mean the three other guests here, I mean, have put out hours and hours and hours of instruction videos and motivating videos. I mean, this is quite a panel you got going here, Dennis, with Ontario-based YouTube people who are inspiring people every day to get out and enjoy what Ontario has. I know, other provinces, Quebec, I'm sure is a great place to canoe. And even in the States, I know Minnesota's got some great stuff, but man, oh man, if you want to be a canoeist, to be in Ontario and then to have people like this who can show you where to practice it. And I mean, it's great to have folks like the three of these folks that are out there telling people about it and showing people what to do. And it's really good. So I'm just happy to be sitting here on the panel with you. I'm just the guy who organizes symposiums and invites people like you guys to talk.
Funny thing you say that, David.
You are so full of knowledge. You know so much.
I thought you were going to say full of something else. There you go.
Funny you say that, Dave, because I don't know. I know you've asked me a couple of times after we did the symposium live here on the show, but it happens to be one of my biggest viewed shows. Well over 3,000 views that the symposium has had.
That was a good time.
So that you know what, and we've heard lots of kudos about it. I know the boys from Paddling Adventures Radio on episode 222 did a rather lengthy chit chat about it, and I think that went over very well. So to you, I'm grateful that you actually come to me to help you with it. So thanks much.
Wow, I mean, we couldn't have put it on without the technology that you use every week to do this. So, I mean, it's an interesting time to be involved because, Kevin, you made a point, and like Martin started canoeing at 30. There's another thing we have in common, Martin. I started at 30.
32.
Yeah. So,
Really?
Did my first backcountry trip when I was 32.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm
before that.
into it late, and if it wasn't for my CCR and Kevin's books and Bill Mason videos, those are probably the three things I could access. But now, what a time to be. Like, I've learned how to hot tent and solo hot tent just from the internet, what gear to buy. And I've watched Christina's videos on how to hot tent and solo hot tent. And I mean, it's a fantastic way to learn. And certainly, Dennis, you've done a great job bringing those type of people to the online world so that people can access that knowledge. So, I mean, it's invaluable. It's invaluable.
Well, and that's a good point to make right now. It's like, so this is your last show for the season, Dennis. Name some, wow, that didn't see that coming interview. Name some, wow, I can't believe they actually answered my email. Like, name some good ones.
Well, one that I thought would be a hard person to bring on the show was Sean Emery. For anybody that's an avid hammock camper, Sean Emery was he goes by the name Shug, or the channel Shug. He very charismatic guy. There I am. There's my first trip of the tongue tonight. very, very great guy to have on the show. I was really expecting that I'd have to try and chase him down. And he was very accommodating. I shot him one message on his channel, and this guy answers every single question or comment that comes through his channel. And for a guy that's got like 90,000 subscribers plus, that's pretty huge. So
yeah, I've asked him about a half dozen questions over the years about hammock camping when I first got a hammock and wanted to try that, and he always replied. Always, you know, I mean, and he gets huge views on his videos, you know. He's one of the few sort of YouTubers who very regularly gets way more views than he has subscribers. Like a lot of people go to his channel, they're not sub, but they just go back to his channel, and his videos get shared and reshared all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the others, and you know what? This isn't putting any one person above anybody else that's been on the show. The reason why I have all the guests on my show are because, one, they're people that I follow and I have an interest in of learning more about. Right? We've built some pretty good friendships: Christina, Martin, Kevin, Dave, and many others that are on the show on a regular basis. But you know, so trying to get guys like, say, for instance, Joe Robinette on the show. You know, everybody's pulling at Joe from every corner. If he had 12 arms, he'd have people pulling on him, right? And he was more than accommodating too once he had the means of the better internet connection and things like that. David Pearson was another one, fella from Georgia, bushcrafter. But everybody in their own right, you know. I've never been overpowering or trying to force people's hand to come on the show. I think when everybody's time is to be on the show is when it's going to happen, right? So, but I am looking forward to season 2. I will say that much. I've already started planning a few things, a few changes on the show as far as the formatting is concerned. I'm starting to build a list of potential personalities to join onto the show, some more topics and subjects that we're going to be talking about. Just want to try and keep this whole thing going, right? So, but I need a summer break. It is a taxing thing to do. Kevin, you would know by doing your fireside chats, there's a lot to organizing it. And you know, it takes up a lot of my time, and as a business owner and a family man, it does suck up a lot of time. So I'm going to be enjoying my summer. I'm going to be doing like you guys. I'm going to be out there on the water and camping and paddling and using my boat and mountain biking and the whole 9 yards. So, yeah, it's been fun. This has been really fun. You guys have made this whole thing worthwhile. Everybody that's over there in that chat that follow on a regular basis, really, really, really make it worth the while. You know, it's like I don't want to miss a week because I don't want to disappoint anybody, right? Because they're here to see you guys and maybe me and the whole topic of this whole outdoor community. It's a good time. It really is.
Yeah.
You're all
Can
good.
Can I say something about community?
Sure.
So one thing sort of struck me a few weeks ago. I've been sort of canoeing for a long time, and I did almost all of it with just a couple of people. I did it with my wife, of course, sometimes by myself, and with a couple of other friends. We would go sort of as a foursome, 2 couples. But that was it. I really wasn't canoeing or paddling with anybody else. And it wasn't until I started attending the Ontario Canoeing Symposium and the Winter Camping Symposium, the Ontario Winter Camping Symposium, until I started attending those things and like sort of meeting people face to face and hearing the speakers and seeing the vendors and stuff like that, that I made all these connections with people and felt really part of a community. Before that, I would just participate in online forum like Canadian Canoe Routes and the Winter Trekking Forum and stuff like that. But you didn't really feel like you were part of a community. You just had incidental online contact with people who shared an interest, right? But I didn't really feel like I was involved or part of a community until I started attending these symposia and then the Outdoor Adventure Show last year. And this is all new to me. I'm sort of new to all of this. And I have to say, I love it. It is so nice to meet these people face to face. So thank you, David, for doing that. And thank you, Dennis, for this show. When you started this, I think I was your first or second guest. And I remember thinking, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to work. This is going to take off. And I remember sort of trying to promote it in the early days because I thought this is going to be great. And it was Kevin who sort of introduced me to your first live stream before you had guests. You were just sort of, it was Kevin who introduced me to it. He posted about it on Facebook. I thought, this looks interesting. And when I saw it, I thought, this is great. This is a great idea. This is what we need this. We need somebody who is willing to put in the work, which you do, as David does, of sort of organizing all of this. So thank you so much. You guys, you two have really built up a set of face-to-face and virtual community in a way that eclipses everything that was done in the past on Facebook groups, on Canadian canoe routes. As great as those are, I think this is better. We know each other sort of on a first name basis. We recognize each other by face. A lot of us have met in person now and have gone out on day trips and camping trips and canoe trips and winter camping trips. And it's been fantastic. So thank you, the two of you, for the work that you put in. I know it's a labor of love. So I know you're not
David,
getting.
I must say, I'm looking forward to the face-to-face because I really want to see you get back to your symposium. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Let's keep the mood positive. So fingers crossed. Things are not looking too hopeful there for the immediate future. So, yeah. But we shall keep our fingers crossed.
One step at a time. But you know what the best part of this whole thing is? Christina, David, Martin, Kevin, we're all just normal people, and we all just want to. We all have a love and a passion for something.
Not Kevin. Not Kevin. Come on.
I tried, Kevin. I tried, right? But no, we're all just normal people, and we all have the same passion, right? We all love the outdoors. We all want to get out there. We all want to paddle and enjoy ourselves, right? And the fact that we have a platform that we like to share it on, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, or symposiums or whatever, books, publishing, it doesn't matter. We're all trying to bring this whole thing together, and it seems to work. There seems to be a pretty tight-knit area or bunch of people within our demographic here, our area. Like, if you go say 6-hour radius, how many people out there are doing this type of thing? You look at the Baird brothers, Alexis Outdoors. There's new people breaking in all the time. People I've had on the show here in the past, Cool Quest, they're breaking into this whole thing. And a bunch of others. We're all just doing it. Why? Because we love it, right? There's nothing better than getting out there and enjoying the sunshine and the wind and the fishing and the paddling and the silence and the birds chirping, the whole 9 yards. So that's why I like it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Matt Olson has often talked to me, or he and I have spoken about how there's a little bit of a passing of the guard going on. I mean, if you think back to your Bill Mason sort of era, I know in my mind, not having been sort of a canoeing at that time, it seemed like the canoeist was sort of the grizzled loner who was out there in a small group, same people every year. As you said, Martin, you sort of tripped with the same people. You didn't know a wide community. Now you look at the camping family and you folks, and I mean, it is much more of a community. It's skewing, I think, younger. There's younger people getting involved all the time. The technology is making it, vicariously available to people all the time, so they can live through the exploits of other people and then gain the knowledge to try it themselves. I think of somebody like Kelly Camps, who's the only person in her family who does this stuff, and she goes out on solo trips by herself, and she's again in our age demographic, I think, somewhere in that range. But I mean, I've got all kinds of respect for her. She started hot tenting on her own, and just fantastic people getting involved these days, and it really is a community. And so, if there's one thing that the COVID has maybe done that's positive, is I think a lot of people have come together online, to build that community. And honestly, I think that may be the silver lining there that a lot of people were looking for. So kudos to the online folks. for keeping the flame alive, you know, and building that community. I think that's really important.
Yeah, you're right what you're saying with the changing of the guards. Eh? Like you look at like Alex and Noah, right? The Northern Scavengers and Brad Jennings and all these guys. You know, they're creating fantastic content. Like who needs cable TV, right?
And to be fair and equitable, the biggest change I've seen is in the ladies getting involved, and I think that's long overdue. Wonderful thing. You know, being a male over 50, my first couple of symposiums, I didn't really care about who the speakers were. I just went out and grabbed, you know, names and stuff. So, but then I got thinking, hey, wait a minute now, you know, there's a lot of ladies out there. And Christina, you were one of my first female speakers. And I mean, every year now I try and balance it. And I think, you know, there's so many. I'm just looking down the scroll of the comments, and you know, there's all kinds of ladies that are involved now, and I think that's another changing of the guard because you know, it's Jen goes camping. We need to hear those voices as well. It's too much mansplaining sometimes going on, and not listening to the other words that need to be heard. So. And I know Chris Prouse, who may have left the conversation, but I mean, you know, her videos are out there, and I mean, it's great to see that changing of the guard as well, and that's something that I'm enthused by and encouraged by.
I think that's actually a hugely important one. The fact that women are getting into this. I mean, for a long time, camping and especially canoe camping was sort of the province of men, and there was this sort of this idea of robust, rugged individual masculinity that was associated with it. This was a man's domain, and in part that was because the equipment was incredibly heavy. Canoes were just awful things to carry. Things have changed. Gear is lighter. Canoes are lighter, and women have been emancipated to a degree now that no one thinks that it's weird that a woman would want to be on her own, just going out in the wilderness. And, you know, I mean, there's a time when it would have been unthinkable. It would have been, she would have been crazy. It would have been dangerous. It would have been all these things. And Camper Christina and Kelly Camps, I mean, these are two women who go out there all the time, and they go out there alone all the time. I'm sure they take certain precautions. They don't advertise where they're going ahead of time, right? Because they probably have a few stalkerish fans out there. I apologize in advance.
You know what? When you were on the show, when we had your episode, my mom watched, and she watched intently, right? And she said to me, she says, I like that Christina. She's a brave girl to go out there by herself. She says, I really like her.
But see, this is what I mean. She's a brave girl, right? But I mean, you know, she's not like a bodybuilder, and you see, wow, but you know, she's tough, right? Look what she does, right? Like she's not, you know, but you're not like some 20-year-old, you know, fitness model or something like that, right? You're an ordinary woman, just like we're ordinary guys, but you're out there doing that, and so you are modeling this, and people can look and go, oh yeah, right. You don't have to be superhuman to do this, and you don't have to be a guy. And I think if anything's going to save the environment, if anything's going to sort of work in the interest of conservation, it's going to be women's involvement in this pastime more so than men. And I'm so happy to see women doing this. Yeah,
and one more point, not only women, but people like Haley Sontag, so the youth, need to be sort of that next step in things. I mean, I'm, you know, at 56, being just a newly retired teacher, you know, I spent 30 years teaching history and geography and running an outdoors club. And to a certain extent, I feel like that was my opportunity, and I fought the good fight. And now I want to pass that torch and have, you know, other people pick it up and run with it. And there's just so many positive role models out there that are young, that are female, that are new voices that need to be heard. And I think it's great. And they have the platform now. and the internet and YouTube, and I mean it's all there for the taking and the using. So congratulations to you, Christina. I always feel a tiny little bit of pride whenever I see you speaking somewhere, because I know you did your first talk at the symposium and
reading off a paper.
Hey, we all got to start somewhere, right? But
I wanted to just comment on that as well. When I started my YouTube channel, I think it's been 3 or 4 years now I've had it. My stats told me that I had 71% of a male following, the rest were women. And I looked the other day, and it's at 64% male. And so the women's are going up a little bit. So that's good. I thought that was really great to see. I have a huge male following, and I think it's just because men do it more than women do, right? Like, it's just the way it is, or has been. But I seeing that increase the other day, I was just like, yeah, this is great. Like, I got more women followers, so it makes me really happy. And of course, there's lots of women that are doing this, so obviously they all give credit as well.
Yeah, it's
a male-dominated sport.
Mom pointed out that really, if you go really young in the demographic, if you go into the 20s, you're probably looking much more to 50-50 with men and women, especially with kayaks, and it makes it possible to get out there sort of in a more solo way. And there's nothing but positive can come from that. Absolutely nothing but positive. And eventually, it's time for some of us, the other demographic, to sort of get out of the way and let that new voice, take over the space.
We don't have to move, man.
No,
They gotta knock us off our pedestal. They do, right, Kevin? They gotta knock us off.
Yes, all things must pass.
Yeah.
So I'm enthusiastic for the future. Really, I mean, optimistic, I guess is a better word, because as somebody said, it might have been you, Kevin. Or it might have been you, Dan, so I forget. But somebody said, like, if there's a future here, it's having the female involvement, because it's the nurturing and it's the longer view of things. And I think that voice has been missing far too long. So, kudos to all the ladies who are involved now, and good on you. And just thrilled to see you out there and making videos and doing your thing. I think that's great.
Yeah, you know what? I don't want him to knock me off my pedestal. I want to paddle beside him.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, that's the whole thing. So you know what? We're at the 2-hour mark. I don't think we're gonna carry on too much longer. So I do have one final question for each of you on the panel with us tonight that you could share. Advice. Any advice or anything you could say as far as advice for anybody in the camping community as far as getting out there and getting involved?
I would like to stress that I want to see everybody wearing their PFD a little more. I've been seeing a lot of Instagram posts lately. Sean mentioned he went out camping for Father's Day, and he said there was just a whole different type of people out because the campgrounds are being the campgrounds are they open yet? I don't know. I don't generally go.
Just opening them up, actually. I heard on the news today.
As the campgrounds aren't open, there are all kinds of people going into the backcountry who are not technically skilled in backcountry, maybe, or they're going out to party and stuff like that. And I'm seeing all kinds of pictures on social media everywhere, people not wearing your life jacket. I know that you don't legally have to wear it, but we wear them. I think all of you guys wear them. I mean, we've all been doing it for a while. So wear your PFD. It could save your life. It makes me sick to see these people dying and for no reason because they don't have their PFD on. It's just it's just silly. So that's my little spiel of the day.
That's a good one. That's a good one. David?
I don't know. I don't like to give advice. I just get out there. Get out there. I think Kevin said go out with a sense of adventure and curiosity and just
an exploration.
Yeah, just get out there as often as you can. Stop making excuses. I think if COVID's taught us one thing is if you put things off, you may never actually get a chance to do it. So get out there while you can. for sure.
Gentlemen, who wants to take the floor first, or you want to tug of war over?
Always make sure you bring enough whiskey. Oh, make sure it's closed.
I'll let Kevin have the last word, so I'll just say.
Oh no. No.
That way you can rebut him.
Okay, paper, rock, scissors. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, we had a lag there, but
No, you're
Rock, smash, scissors.
Go ahead.
okay. Well, for me, it's Crownland camping. I'm always recommending people try Crownland camping. So obviously, if you've never camped, that's not the place to start. You know, go to a provincial park, go with some friends, preferably go with someone who's experienced. But if you've been if you've been camping in provincial parks and that sort of thing for a while, and you really feel comfortable, go ahead and just stretch yourself a little bit. Go watch some YouTube videos about Crownland camping. I've got a whole channel that's largely devoted to it. Brad Jennings has got tons of videos about it. There are other people. Just look up Crownland camping in Ontario or wherever on YouTube, and you will find videos, and you will learn what you can do, what you can't do, what you must do, what you mustn't do, and how to find it. That content is out there, and what this will do is it will expand your sense of what camping is like, because first of all, there's some discovery involved. You have to find a place to. It doesn't have to be canoeing. It could just be a day trip, exploring, and then you go, wow, I just found this beautiful little spot in the woods, and there's this beautiful pond or a creek running through it. It'd be a perfect place to pitch a tent and just enjoy a short backpacking trip. And that place will become your place, and you will have discovered it. And you will have to make your camp. You won't be moving into a wilderness hotel where there's a fire ring and a tent pad and where you hang your food and all that decided for you. You will have to sort of work out those logistics. And it will give you, I think, a somewhat more authentic and traditional camping experience. And what's amazing about this, one of the things I find most gratifying about that is not just the work that you have to put into it, and that you feel that you've earned it, but how a place that when you walked into it was purest wilderness with not a trace of another person having been there. And then within a matter of hours, it feels like home. And that's an amazing feeling. And I almost never feel at home on a campsite that's been used by hundreds of people over years and years and years. I do feel some of that, but when I'm on Crownland and no one's been there before and I make it my own, oh, what a great feeling. And when I walk away and I look behind me at where I just camped and there's scarcely a trace of my having come and gone, that feels great. I'm just filled with pride with that. So I would recommend people give that a try. You know, if you're comfortable camping in parks, consider Crownland camping. Just try to find some.
Callan?
Oh my God. Okay. Two really quick points. One is about what Dave was talking about. You know, women gaining more visual whatever, and I think that's fantastic. Absolutely. But Dave, you and I, when I say but, when you actually say the word but after a statement, you better know what you're going to say after that but, right? And I know what I'm going to say. You and I worked in an outdoor ed center back in the 80s. You and I were the only male. There was 9 female outdoor ed leaders that rocked the world back then. This is not something new, man.
Good
okay?
point. Good point.
Really, remember, you and I were the only males working there. Okay, yeah. And those individuals, and we were all equal.
Yes,
right? We were all equal. Nobody thought about because we all worked in outdoor education. So my world, because I work in the arts, and I worked in outdoor education, and I worked in weird jobs, and I worked with very unique people. We don't think about anybody being male, female, gay, whatever. We don't really think about that during the day whatsoever. Because we're in the woods. We are who we are out there. There's no facade. I love nature. I love the idea of wilderness. You are who you are out there. And yeah, I think it's fantastic what's going on now. And I think absolutely, right? But the thing is like, this is not a new thing. There has been female leaders for years. Maybe they're getting more attention now, and I think that's fantastic. But when you and I were working back in the 80s, we were the low totem pole, man. and
there's a reason for that.
But you and I didn't ever thought of that. No, not once did we think about that during the day. They were all colleagues of ours. And that's something that I needed to make that point. But the other is the really crucial point right now is you guys, we all have done it. But if you haven't done it out there, go on a canoe trip and get away from the whole distancing thing, the whole COVID thing, and feel good about yourself, whoever you are. And man, it is phenomenal. Last week when I was paddling by day 3, I was like, really? And then when we're going back and we saw the crowds at the parking lot and we're like, oh, we're going back to the zombie world. Mm-hmm. And so right now, because we're allowed to, get out there as much as you can. The bugs are brutal, but they'll go away. You know, it'll be fine. That's it. That's it. Except Pine Martin, I'm going tomorrow morning. In fact, I'm leaving at 3, so I don't even why I'm even talking to you guys right now.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to go to an area where you know well, and I will cast a line for you, because what person goes to that area? You went to like a week ago when the bass season was closed. What kind of angler does that?
I didn't bring a rod. Wasn't bass season, so I didn't.
Hence the reason I make fun of you for not catching a fish.
Wow. You have a rebuttal. Anyways, my little bit of advice here before closing up the show tonight. You know what? Get out there, enjoy the moment as often as you can. Take it all in, because you never know when you will not be able to. You know what? Just be safe out there. Like Camper Christina said, wear your PFDs. Don't take on any unnecessary chances on the water. Big water, relax for the day. Stay in. And I want you all around for season 2. So everybody, you know what? Have a great summer. Get out there and enjoy yourselves. Christina, Dave, Martin, Kevin, thanks very much for joining tonight, man. You guys, I consider you all close friends, and I really appreciate the fact that you joined me tonight there for this season finale. I don't think this show could have gone off any better than it did. It was fun, relaxed, and chilled. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you out on the water at some point this summer. Hopefully we can make this happen. That'd be good stuff. In the meantime, everybody tune in September. You'll be seeing my posts on Facebook at Canoe Hounds Outdoor Adventure Show on Facebook, as well as my community tab and all my videos. I'll make sure everybody knows when the shows are going to be starting back up again. We're going to try and get a great lineup going for next year. I'm sure you're going to see these 4 faces on here as well next year. Hopefully you guys will not mind popping back in again, because you're always welcome. And with that being said, everybody stay safe, healthy, happy, love your families, get out there in the great outdoors, and most importantly, keep the adventures alive. So everybody have a great 2020, and I'll be up for some pop-up live streams maybe through the summer, but they'll just be like last second things, so nothing formal. Have a good one, everybody. Cheers.
Bye.